Hey guys, I'm Mitch and welcome to Quick Ads. This is going to be a segment where I just go through the games for the week besides Monday because I want to get the video out sooner. And I'll just talk about players that caught my eye that I might think about adding real quick. So I hope this can help someone. Let's start with the Thursday night game, the Buccaneers versus the Cowboys. For the Cowboys side of things, I feel like Dalton Schultz is worth mentioning. Caught 6 out of 6 targets, an efficient tight end, and I expect his targets to go up next week with Michael Gallup being out. I think Dalton Schultz is worth a look if you need a tight end. Next, we have the New York Jets versus the Carolina Panthers. For the Jets, I want to point out Braxton Burrows ties Corey Davis in targets with 7. I also want to mention Ty Johnson. The whole running back committee as a whole didn't look great, but I feel like Ty Johnson looked the most efficient by far. He did get the longest run, probably because of that, the longest average yards per carry. It was a very small sample, but I'm curious to see how this all shakes out. Michael Carter did not look very efficient at all, and Tevin Coleman is getting a little older. I like to see Ty Johnson potentially shake out as running back there. For the Carolina Panthers, I want to mention Terrace Marshall Jr. He didn't get a touchdown, but he was the second most targeted wide receiver. I do feel like DJ Moore is the number 1 wide receiver there at this moment, but I feel like Terrace Marshall Jr. made a strong case as to why he may be the number 2 wide receiver there in Carolina. For the Cardinals versus the Titans, I want to bring up Christian Kirk. Does about as good as DeAndre Hopkins with 3 less targets. It looks like Kyler Murray is already in for another amazing year for fantasy, so I feel like it's also worth mentioning Rondale Moore. He led the team in yards per attempt, although they all averaged pretty high. I feel like it may be worth monitoring all of Kyler Murray's main wide receiver targets this year. For the Titans, you have Chester Rogers, seemingly more efficient than Julio Jones. It was pretty interesting to watch. I would monitor him as well. Could be worth the pickup, especially for you Titans fans. 49ers versus the Lions. Now, obviously, you've got Elijah Mitchell here. He seems to be the strongest waiver wire pickup, in my opinion, maybe next to Mark Ingram, and we'll talk about that later. But Elijah Mitchell looks really good. Looks like he proves that he can handle duties as the number 1 back. It'll be interesting to watch. But also on the 49ers, I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is worth mentioning. He finishes the week so far as the QB with the highest yards per attempt. I remember the rumors about Bill Belichick wanting to replace Tom Brady with Jimmy Garoppolo when he was in New England. I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's hard for me to get over all of that noise. I'm pretty high on Jimmy Garoppolo. For the Lions, I want to bring up Jamaal Williams. I'm not saying that he is the back to have in Detroit, but between him and DeAndre Swift, I feel like they were pretty much getting the same amount of volume, but it looks closer to a 50-50 split, maybe 55-45 to be a little more accurate, but I feel like Jamaal Williams can definitely make a claim to take it, or at least stay involved in the offense. If Jamaal Williams is for some reason available, definitely try to pick him up, I think. For Seattle versus the Colts, I want to mention Carson Wentz. He had a very good week 1. It seems like he's already building rapport with Zach Pascal, and that's exactly how I'm going to segue into Zach Pascal. 5 targets, 4 catches, and 2 touchdowns. The Colts are definitely a running back first team, but it's promising to see the 2 touchdowns for Zach Pascal. He is on my radar. Eagles versus the Falcons, I just want to mention Jalen Reagor catches 6 out of 6 targets. I really like the efficiency there. Obviously, he's going to be second fiddle to Devontae Smith, and he'll also compete with Dallas Goedert, it appears, in targets. But I do like the Eagles right now. Perhaps it was just the Falcons, but they looked like a well-oiled machine. I wouldn't mind having pieces of the Philadelphia Eagles. Jags versus the Texans. Earlier we mentioned Mark Ingram, 26 carries. I mean, that's just a ridiculous amount of carries. He has to be on your radar now if he wasn't already. I also want to mention Marvin Jones. I feel like DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault are probably already taken. I'm just now noticing there are 3 junior wide receivers on that team. But at any rate, Trevor Lawrence looks like he's going to have to pass very often, and Marvin Jones, I feel like, is a proven receiver. Marvin Jones has had very crazy huge games in the past. Chargers versus the Washington football team. I've got to point out Jared Cook, 8 targets, and I feel like Justin Herbert just throws a lot. So I really like Jared Cook here. He's just defying father time, but there I go, advising that you look at Jared Cook if you need tight ends. Oh geez. For the Steelers versus the Bills, I want to point out Cole Beasley, 13 targets. That's ridiculous. Gabriel Davis, I feel like, is another guy worth looking at. I really like the way he was being used, leads the team in yards per attempt, and it's obvious when you watch the games and the way they're using Davis. One of these weeks he's going to have a huge blowout performance, and you're going to wish you had Davis on your team. Vikings versus the Bengals, I want to point out KJ Osborne ties Justin Jefferson with 9 targets. Of course, Justin Jefferson is going to be targeted a little farther down the field. I feel like he will have those bigger plays. For the Cincinnati Bengals, I want to point out Joe Burrows. If he is in your league, I think he could be worth a pickup. The Bengals have so much talent in wide receivers: Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I do like Joe Burrows. For the Browns versus the Chiefs, I want to point out Schwarz. He kind of gave me a Curtis Samuels vibe. It seemed like all of his plays were especially designed for him. He even got a run in there. Patriots versus the Dolphins, I feel like Nelson Aguilar is worth a look. Although Jacoby Myers is the favorite target, seems to be the wide receiver one, I feel like it's pretty close. I'd call Aguilar a wide receiver 1.5 if you catch my drift. I'm looking at Nelson Aguilar. The Packers versus the Saints, A.J. Dillon looked to be the best running back there. I think A.J. Dillon is definitely worth a look, if not just as a hefty handicap, even if Aaron Jones does end up being the true running back at any rate. I also feel like you need to look at Troutman, but I feel like Troutman in his 6 targets, which I believe did lead the team, it's too hard for me to look past. Broncos versus the Giants, we've got to look at Javonte Williams. He leads the team in carries. Melvin Gordon did have his explosive 70-yard run, so it's going to be hard to look past that, but I just can't help the fact that they gave Javonte Williams the most amount of carries. We should definitely keep an eye on that. Sterling Shepard, I don't know if he's going to be available, but he is available in a few of the leagues that I'm in. Leads the team with 9 targets, 7 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Honestly, I feel like Sterling Shepard, we've always known he's a great wide receiver. It's just been hard to trust the Giants in recent history. And for the Bears versus the Rams, I want to point out Kmet. I was keeping an eye on this going into the game to see how it would shake out between him and Jimmy Graham, and he out-targeted Jimmy Graham by quite a bit. If you need a tight end, look for Kmet. I could see this being even better if there is a quarterback switch in the near future. Fingers crossed. That's it for this week, but thanks for watching the very first installment. Feel free to subscribe for more. Good luck on all of your guys' fantasy games. Peace.